Hello guys, so for this video I wanted to experiment with gouache at 3 different price points and see what differences they have and if those differences even matter. So the first gouache I'm going to be playing around with is a Royal Langnickel gouache that, according to Amazon, was $16 for 24, so that's around 67 cents per gouache. So I've had this gouache for I think over a year now, and I haven't used it a lot because whenever I was first using it, I thought that it was just very streaky and I didn't really like how it worked with me. So, yeah, I just really didn't get all into it. But I think a lot of it was just my skill at the time. I didn't really know how to paint with gouache to begin with last year, so I kind of just blamed it on the fact that it was cheap gouache instead of thinking, oh, I just need more practice, which of course I did. Everyone could use more practice. So for this photo, I just began kind of painting how I do in Procreate, which is sometimes I like to just lay down basic flat colors and then I like to build up from them, especially since this photo I was looking at had pretty intense lighting. I really wanted to capture that contrast, so I just started out with pretty vibrant colors, which I feel like this gouache is less vibrant compared to the other ones, but it's honestly not bad. I do think that compared to some other gouaches, this one, it takes more layering to get the more opaque colors, and it acts more like acrylic than watercolor, so it of course can be rehydrated with water, but it just takes a bit more water to do that. I did notice that whenever I would put this gouache in a to-go container so I could paint with it later, whenever it dried, it got so crackly and crusty that it just fell out of the little container squares that I put them in. So for all of these paintings, I basically just used 2 main brushes. The smaller brush that you're seeing, which is a round brush, and then a small flat brush, because these paintings are pretty small, since I fit 3 on 1 page of my teensy sketchbook. I mean, they're probably around 2.5 inches tall each. Something that I always find helpful for when colors start to get muddy is just to create a lot of contrast. Contrast, a lot of the times, I think, is your best friend, because then you can really tell the difference between the lights and the darks and the forms that you're trying to create. This one is the only one I ended up adding a background to because I felt like it just needed it. I really wanted that pop of contrast. And I kind of messed up the cheek, so I needed something to go over that so I could go back and fix it. So for this next painting, it took me around 47 minutes, and I used the Savoir-Faire gouache, and it was $17 for 10 tubes, so that's around $1.70 per tube. As you can see, I am struggling to get those open, so I just decided to use the white gouache from the previous brand I used, because these gouaches get really, really crusty. And when I say crusty, I mean like crusty to the point that I cannot open the tubes. And this paint seems to be very solid whenever you pour it out of the tube. Kind of like a little worm. I really liked the way it did the wash though, because I felt like it wasn't streaky. And the colors were poppin'. For all of these paintings, I tried to paint in a similar fashion where I put down a wash color for everything, color wash or whatever, and then I just built on layering with the shadows and the highlights. I also like to start painting with a bigger brush before going in with a detail one, so I can get that color blocking in. For this last painting, I used this $11.50 gouache that I found in my school's art store, and I only bought it because I still had $60 of art store credit left. This painting took me an hour and 3 minutes. Oh wait, no, an hour and 30 minutes. And it was probably a bias on my part because as the prices increased, so did the time spent on each painting. And it was probably because I just wanted it to look better, because I expected it to look better. So unknowingly, I just spent a lot more time on it. This gouache actually, it was very, very, very pigmented for the little gouache I was using. Like, it did not take much for this to show up. Whenever I would try to build up layers of color, and add different colors on top, or say I messed up on a color here and it looked really dumb, so I tried to fix it, it just would rehydrate everything that's on the bottom, so I couldn't really escape from my previous mistakes. So I think definitely with this more expensive gouache, making sure I'm getting the right color blocking down from the get-go is super duper important, because I spent a lot of time trying to fix my color mistakes. I ended up adding some black from one of the previous gouaches because I just was not getting the contrast that I wanted with the hair, and I think that this helped a lot. And I think this shows that you don't have to have all the same brand or all the same quality of gouaches to be able to paint one painting. You can use multiple tools. Mixed media, you know? If you guys stuck around through this whole video, thank you. It is very long, but I hope that you got something, took something from it. This was just my experience with these gouaches, and it certainly shouldn't define every single gouache experience. But hopefully I can give you a good idea as to what gouache to get based on what look or what feeling you want. Thank you for watching my little exploration with gouache. Do not be discouraged if you do not have the fanciest or even mildly decent materials, because really I think it's about, especially in the beginning, just skill building and using what you have to create things. So yeah, don't let what you have stop you from experimenting with different medium, because I think you can still make pretty cool stuff with the cheap stuff. In other news, today I had an interview, phone interview. It was supposed to be like an online interview, but the web connection was really bad. So I did a phone interview with 2 people from Hallmark, and hopefully I got the internship. I don't know, but let's hope that I did. If not, I mean, I guess there's next year. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. And I originally was not going to include myself in this video, but because I decided to like actually dress up today and do my makeup, and no one could see me because of quarantine or social distancing or whatever, it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna show you guys my face. So yes, there's my face. But yeah, I feel like this quarantine, social distancing, craziness time is a good time to just like find all your art supplies and play around with everything, so go crazy. If you guys have any other ideas for what you want to see me make on this channel, just shoot me a comment, or you can find me on Instagram at AffyDraws, and you can always DM me or contact me there too. Okay, cool. See ya.